Hey guys, what's up? It's Zyphon here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Fulmin wisp signature weapon. Now, the Fulmin is a shotgun and assault rifle hybrid that takes assault rifle mods. Now, I know a lot of people were disappointed at the fact that it takes assault rifle mods, but at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal because this weapon has a pretty high base critical chance, which means we can run for our 100 munitions and being builds, which if you guys watch my previous build videos on weapons, you know that I'm pretty fond of that build, but I'm not just going to be showing off that build in this video. I'm going to be showing beginner ways to mod this weapon too if you happen to get this as soon as possible. I think it's Master Rank 8 you can get this as early as, but if you go ahead and buy the Wisp bundle, then you'll get this weapon a lot sooner. And if you did, well, congratulations on spending platinum on Wisp and the Fulmin. Pretty fun combo, at least in my opinion. So the Fulmin, like I said, is a shotgun and assault rifle hybrid. And that is determined by if the suppressor is on or off. So this big thing at the end of the barrel here of the weapon. So if the suppressor is on, you're in your shotgun mode. The shotgun mode consumes 10 ammo per shot down the bottom right hand corner. But as you can see, it also regens the ammo. Now the range of the shotgun is pretty weak as well because you can see it kind of fades away the further it travels, which is kind of But then if we go ahead and we press our alt fire, we take the suppressor off and we are in our assault rifle mode. The range on it is a little bit better. You can see that we can actually hit the walls and stuff. So let's see if we can shoot this enemy here. We can, but we have pretty low damage. This has no mods on it, by the way, so it's dealing 2 damage. Well, 12 damage on that crit, but yeah. So ammo regens, assault rifle mode, 1 ammo per shot. It's not taking anything crazy or anything like that, but you never have to pick up ammo, and because the ammo just regens, of course, this weapon is going to have pretty lackluster damage in comparison to something super insane or super powerful. Like, it's not going to be as strong as, let's say, the Vapor Heck in the shotgun mode, for example, and the damage types are definitely going to be tweaked so it isn't crazy versus the armored enemies, for example. So it has electric damage on both the firing modes, but then the shotgun has impact, and in the fully automatic mode, the assault rifle mode has puncture damage. So let's go ahead and start reading the stats. So the first one that I'm going to be reading off is the shotgun stats, and for whatever reason, every single time that I go to show off a weapon, I've had multiple attempts at this video, I show off the Warframe mods. So yeah, let's go ahead and begin reading it, I guess. We've got our semi-auto mode, shotgun mode, accuracy 9.1, critical chance 30, critical multiplier 2.2, fire rate of 2.17, magazine size of 60, doesn't change at all. Noise silent, reload speed of 1, riven display free, status chance of 16%. We've got 400 electric damage and 100 impact damage. Moving on to the fully automatic mode, the assault rifle mode, we have 111.1 accuracy, critical chance of 28%, critical multiplier of 2.4, fire rate of 9.33, magazine size of 60. It's alarming. It's got a reload speed of 1 second. Well, reload speed of 1 second. I'm guessing that is the delay, like how long you have to not be shooting for it to regen ammo. Riven display free still, and then a status chance of 10, trigger auto, electric damage 25, and puncture damage 8. So not the most insane damage numbers in the world, but whenever you start to throw your mods on, the build definitely starts to come together. So let's go ahead and back out and go back in. These are the 4 staple mods that I would always be running on this weapon no matter what. So you have Serration for your damage, Split Chamber for multi-shot, which is just going to increase your damage a little bit more by making it so you can shoot more than 1 bullet at a time. Point Strike for your critical chance, 150%, then Vital Sense for your 120% critical damage. So these mods, in my opinion, are staple. And what also becomes a staple is your elemental combo, right? So most weapon builds are going to have 1 elemental combo. In most cases, people generally recommend running corrosive damage, but the elemental combo that you run is going to depend on the faction that you're going against. Now, we're going to first be testing versus heavy gunners, right? And heavy gunners take 75% bonus corrosive damage, right? So we throw on our corrosive damage. Okay, and then now we make that by combining Infected Clip and Stormbringer beside one another in the modding section. That's Toxin and Electric, okay? And what's going to happen is it's going to take our corrosive value, take 75% of that, and then add it on top as more damage versus this heavy gunner that we're going to be shooting at, right? So this build right here, this build would be good enough to make enemies dead, right? So if we were to go ahead and spawn in, like, let's say, for example, a level 100 heavy gunner, okay? Let's do that. Level 100 heavy gunners aren't enemies that you're going to be coming up against until, I would say, at least sortie free. So if you're nowhere near doing sorties, you don't have to worry about this. we're going to be using the shotgun mode on the enemies on the right, and we're going to be using the rifle mode on the enemies on the left. Now, they are paused, and a common misconception is that you get bonus damage if the enemies are paused while using a rifle or whatever. That only happens for melee, so there's not going to be any bonus damage here. The only thing that may give me bonus damage, so to speak, is the corrosive projection that I'm running on my frame, which is going to take away 30% of the enemy's armor, but I would recommend that you run that all the time anyway. So let's go ahead and just use the shotgun mode. I'm going to try my best to aim for the head so we get the headshot multiplier, but because we have impact damage on the shotgun mode, chances are the enemies are going to stagger backwards, which means it's going to be a little bit harder to land those headshots. So just to show you the damage, 5,629 damage in one shot from the shotgun mode on the headshot. I do have arcane acceleration on here, so I'm going to have increased fire rate, which is going to increase the DPS by just a little bit, but doesn't really matter too much, honestly. Your arcanes are personal preference, but I like running arcane acceleration, especially with this weapon, because I just like going pew 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 with the shotgun mode. So you can see it's not too bad in terms of damage. The damage starts to scale up as the enemy armor starts to get stripped away. So the corrosive procs are stripping away the enemy armor, right? So shotgun mode pretty good. The rifle mode, though, if you're not running corrosive damage on it, pretty meh. But because we're running corrosive damage and we're just stripping away the enemy armor, pretty feels good, man. So definitely make sure that you're running the correct elemental damage type. That's going to be super important for this weapon, because if you mess up the elemental damage type, then you're not going to be dealing any damage with this weapon, especially versus enemies like that, because of the base damage types that you have equipped. Like if you're trying to use electric damage and impact damage versus heavily armored enemies and you don't have corrosive damage on there, your shotgun's not going to do shit. And because of the low puncture stat on the fully automatic rifle mode, then you're going to be dealing damage, sure, 75% of 25 at it on top, but then there's everything else which is going to negate your damage too. So make sure that you're running the correct elements, or else you're not going to be in for a good time, put it that way. So that's great. You can kill level 100 enemies with this build, but how do we make it even better? So what you could do is you could just, get more damage for a head, right? So what we could do is we could throw on bladed rounds or argon scope. Now, I like bladed rounds over argon scope, but I know a lot of people, for some reason, like argon scope over bladed rounds, but on kill, you get 120% extra critical damage while aiming for 9 seconds, so it requires you to be aiming down sights. Argon scope is on headshot, 145% critical chance when aiming for 9 seconds. They both require you to be aiming down sights, which is kind of I prefer the shotgun mode, so I'm going to be showing you guys a different build, but just for the sake of simplicity, I guess, let's go with bleeder rounds, and let's go ahead and throw on Hellfire. So what Hellfire is going to do, basically the same thing as corrosive damage. It's going to give you bonus heat damage versus that heavy gunner that we're just shooting at, right? So you have the 75% bonus corrosive damage, so it's going to take 75% off your corrosive stat and then add that on top. And then Hellfire is going to take 25% off your heat stat and then add that on top. So we're going to be dealing even more damage. And then whenever we do get a kill, 120% bonus critical damage, which is just great, right? So if we go ahead and we spawn in the heavy gunners again, level 100. Again, shotgun mode on the right, a rifle mode on the left. Let's go ahead and try it out. Okay, wait for our ammo to come back. You can see we dealt a lot more damage that time around. And we go our rifle mode. Enemies are dying a lot faster this time around because of that bladed rounds proc and also the heat damage that we threw on, which is epic, right? So for a little bit more consistent DPS, you could run Argon Scope. So a good way of thinking about it is bladed rounds is burst DPS, so it's just going to be higher DPS whenever you get that proc, and an Argon Scope is going to be more consistent DPS. Whenever you get a headshot, you're going to have that critical buff, so it's going to boost up your damage by a little bit more consistently, right? So it's up to you which one you'd rather go for. This is also implying you're competent enough to get headshots, right? So if you can't get headshots, probably no point using Argon Scope, just go for bladed, is how I would put it. But okay, let's go ahead and test out Argon Scope. Simulate the bad guys. Jump on in. Okay, so shotgun mode in the right. Okay, you can see some orange crits there. I'm not using a cat or anything. And then rifle mode in the left. Not as good as bladed rounds in my opinion. But of course, there's other things you can use to buff up your damage, right? So you can maybe have a cap, which is also going to buff up your critical chance too. And in that case, probably still better to use bladed rounds because, I mean, more critical damage, right? But it's really down to you, honestly. But yeah, you could maybe even run heavy caliber if you like. But I don't know. I've never really been a fan of using heavy caliber ever since the release of Hunter Munitions. So I guess we can test it out. If you don't want to use either Argon Scope or bladed rounds, you can do this. This is 165% bonus damage, just raw damage, and trade up for, is it 55% accuracy? I forget the stats of heavy caliber, but you definitely drop them very, very fast. So you're getting consistent 7,000 damage and then sometimes 9,000 damage. So here we go on the head. Cool. Getting dropped pretty quickly. Awesome. Wait for the reload. And they're dead. So that's definitely another alternative you can do. You can run heavy caliber if you like. Totally up to you. But what I like to do is I like to run Hunter Munitions. This isn't going to make sense. This is going to completely contradict what I was just telling you guys. And then we run, instead of Stormbringer and Infected Clip, we run Malignant Force and Rime Rounds. So where is my Malignant Force? So we can get that. There it is. And then we run a Being mod. So being off the Corrupted. And what's going to happen here is the Beam mod is going to give us 2 bonuses to our slash procs. It's going to double dip. Like we get 55% bonus damage, right? It's going to double dip that on the slash proc. So it's going to be applied to the slash proc twice. And Hunter Munitions is going to make us more likely to get a slash proc, even though we don't have base slash damage on this weapon. Every time that we crit, we're going to get a slash proc applied. Well, a 30% chance to apply a slash proc. Okay. Then our viral, because we're using our status mods, we have 56% status chance, right? So viral, if you apply it once, it's going to half the enemy's HP for a certain amount of time. Meanwhile, the slash procs are going to be eating away at the enemy's health, right? Through their armor. So just keep that in mind. So if we go ahead and we spawn in our heavy gunners again, level 100. Really, the max level enemy you're going to be coming up against in average star chart content is 110. But 100 is kind of a good average. So we go ahead, aim at the head. You see those slash procs? They are a killer, dude. So that guy got all of his health back because our viral proc ran out. But the slash procs is really what's killing him. Let's go ahead and use the rifle mode. I'm going to try to get your headshots. He dies on a lot less shots and a lot less time. So this is my personal favorite build. Just because you burst down enemies so fast and so effectively. Because of those double dip slash procs. It's really the slash procs doing the work. You're not getting super high base damage numbers. But those slash procs are just killing enemies super fast. So that build takes a little bit of work to put together. You need to have a maxed out primed being mod. It's no point using the regulars. But if you have a maxed out primed being mod, then it's definitely worth it. Another thing we can do, if we're playing against Corpus, we can run Prime Being of Corpus, and then we can swap out Rime rounds for Thermite rounds. If we can find it. Where is Thermite rounds? I'm very, very blind. There it is. Okay. So that's Malignant Force plus Thermite rounds is going to give us gas. And this here mod right here, our Prime Being of Corpus, is going to give us triple dip gas procs. That's 55% bonus is going to be applied 3 times, right? So we go ahead and we spawn in Corpus Techs. There we go. Get 8 of them. Simulate. We get our shotgun mode on the right. They die pretty damn fast. Assault rifle mode on the left. So gas procs, it's like an area of effect damage over time. Enemies who are close to the enemy that is affected by the gas proc is also going to be affected by a toxin proc. That toxin proc is going to deal damage over time. And because we have that Prime Being of Corpus on, then that proc is going to deal even more damage than it usually would, is the best way to put it. And the reason we use gas versus the Corpus enemies is because toxin goes through shields. It's not that good of an idea to run it versus the armored enemies, and I'll show you why. The damage is too low. right? So those gas procs aren't going to deal a lot of damage. So the more initial damage you can deal at enemies, the more damage your slash procs and gas procs are going to do, right? So these guys resist the gas damage and whatnot, so you're not dealing it that much. It's still decent, and if you were to remove the armor from these guys, gas would be awesome, but because, you know, they have the armor, then it's not going to be that great. And also the idea is to reapply the gas proc as much as possible for as much DPS as possible. And the low status chance of the Fulmin being at 56% with our 2 status mods probably isn't the best, but I just wanted to show you guys that this is an option versus the Corpus and whatnot if you really, really, really wanted to. Like on the Assault Rifle mode, you have a 37.6% status chance, and that, in my opinion, is just way too low for a gas, but it's really down to you what you want to do. You can still run viral versus the Corpus as well if you wanted to, because you're still going to have those slash procs to help you out. So if we were to go ahead and swap back to our Malignant Force and Rhyme rounds and spawn in our Corpus again, we can do the exact same test versus these boys and see. You see, we still kill them really, 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 really fast, right? So not really to worry if you don't want to use the gas. Just wanted to show you guys that it was an option that you can use if you want to mess around with gas just a little bit. But it's better to use gas on higher status chance weapons where you can constantly keep on reapplying that gas proc, because that's where most of the DPS from gas comes from, especially whenever you get into those super high levels, right? So yeah, there's that. I guess the only thing that I can show you is this build versus the level 160, right? Because that says, well, 165 is the highest I can make them now, so let's go ahead and test that out. 165 heavy gunner for the armor, a lot of effective HP on those guys. Go ahead, jump in. Shotgun on the right. Here we go. So they take a lot more damage. Now keep in mind, it's base electric damage, so you can't really expect it to be omega insane. And you want to be going for those headshots. So notice how enemies behind the enemy that we're shooting at has actually died before the one we're shooting at, right? That's because not every single enemy is going to have the same amount of slash procs applied to them. So let's go ahead and swap to the rifle and ease away at them. Now the reason that they're a lot tankier is because higher the level they are, the more armor they're going to have, and the more armor they have, the more damage reduction they have, which means the less damage we're just dealing overall, which is why probably using the likes of a corrosive build would be a lot better, right? So using your corrosive mods rather than your viral, you can make an argument for that. It's really up to you what you want to do, what type of content you're playing and whatnot. I would recommend using the build that I'm using right now if you're using 4 times cruiser projection, right? Because then that way the enemy isn't going to have any armor, so, you know. But you can also run your being with Hunt Munitions being with corrosive damage. That works too. So let's go ahead and throw on our Infected Clip and our Stormbringer. And then we can try this out and see how much damage we deal with this. It's another option for a build we can run. Again, shotgun on the right, assault rifle on the left. So here we go. Strip away the enemy armor. Wait for our thing to come back. And because you're stripping away the enemy armor, you're dealing a lot more overall damage, higher numbers. Take off the suppressor. Assault rifle mode. Cruiser proc, stripping away the enemy armor. Okay. And then the slash procs are doing work as we're shooting at the bad guy's head. Of course, make sure to shoot their head. Headshot multiplier is very, very important. Okay. And one last one. Wait for it. You can maybe die now. No? Okay, there we go. So, you could also run, let's see, Malignant Force plus High Voltage for more consistent corrosive procs. And then this, I promise, is the last build that I'm going to show. I promise. I'm just going to strip away their armor more consistently. You want more consistent armor strips? For more consistent, higher numbers. That's totally fine. There we go. Shredded, dead. Hopefully. Cool. Wait for it. Awesome. 2 more. You can do it. Cool. Last guy. And I just let the slash procs do the work. And he's dead. So that's pretty much every single build you can run in the Fulmin. I think the weapon's dope. Of course, you guys aren't going to be using it versus super high level enemies like that. If you're using this weapon versus super high level enemies like that, there's definitely better options out there. It really depends on the type of enemies that you're going against and if you have 4 times cruise projection and whatnot. But that is all the different ways that I would go about building the Fulmin. It's really down to you, what you have at your disposal that will determine how is the best way of going around building this weapon for you and what type of content that you're playing against and what's available to you and all that jazz. But anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead, hit that like button below. If you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.